Hello, friends. Good morning. It's your boy, Max Mogren, reporting live for you from beautiful Alpine, Wyoming. This is Wake Up Wyoming for October 9th, 2017. Thank you so much for tuning in. Back on the grind, back from a big trip, and getting back into it. As usual, we're going to take a look at the Jackson Hole Daily, the paper servicing the wealthiest county per capita in North America. Also looking at the local independent, Planet Jackson Hole. They got the Project Censored 2017 in here, so we're going to run through that real quick. Really telling imagery there on the cover of the Planet. Pretty wild, right? But thank you so much for tuning in. Anybody who is a regular viewer, David Cocorico Sedano, what's up, David? Sorry to be such a stranger. I've been out practicing what I preach, getting out into nature, enjoying my life, and I hope you all are too. You know, sometimes the news gets so darn depressing that I got to take a step back. Now, the independent media did a great job dismantling, utterly obliterating, turning the official story on the Las Vegas shooting into Swiss cheese. Obviously, there's a lot more to that than we are allowed to know about in the mainstream media. So we're going to get into that today. We're going to get into Hurricane Nate, serious devastation in Central America, unfortunately. We're going to get into Stranger Than Fiction, the CEO of Blackwater, the mercenary company known for killing civilians in Iraq, is potentially running for a Wyoming Senate seat, and more and more and more. So we're getting into it today. Thank you all for tuning in. First off, some good news here in Alpine, Wyoming. Big props to the boys from Melvin Brewing, our local brewers, winning gold at the Great American Beer Fest. They got Brewery Group of the Year. They got gold for their Hubert MPA. Very tasty, tasty beer. Probably crack that one open after to celebrate. And they got gold for another beer, their Wet Hop gold. So big props to the boys from Melvin. Let's take a look at the paper. As I said, Prince, the head CEO of Blackwater, is thinking of running for a Wyoming Senate seat, challenging Republican incumbent John Barrasso. Prince was in Wyoming this weekend to discuss a possible Senate campaign with family members and has been encouraged to run by Steve Bannon, a former top White House strategist to Trump, according to a person who spoke on condition of anonymity. Okay, pretty wild. This Blackwater guy doesn't even live in Wyoming. He lives in Virginia. But he's running for Senate. Needless to say, we're going to make some hay with that story if that actually happens. Blackwater, a private mercenary army used to enforce the military-industrial complex's evil empire all over the world. Rather disturbing stuff. Good to see the comments. David Cocorico Sedano chiming in. I can testify that Blackwater, but they're known as XE. Right. Yeah, they changed the name pretty frequently. Interestingly, they're going by the name Blackwater in here. I thought they changed the name to XE as well. Scott Holman, what's up? Jerry Wallace, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Thank you to everybody that shared links with me. Scott, David, who else was there? John, everybody who was sending me stories. Shannon Wendricks, thank you so much for keeping me abreast with the Vegas shooting. I guess I might as well talk about that right now. Oh, wow, what a depressing story. It sure looked to me like a ritualistic sacrifice down there in Las Vegas. You know, a lot of people jumped on that immediately before the blood was even dry. People calling it a staged event, people calling it a false flag. Out of respect for all the victims, I like to kind of wait until we have confirmation. But, you know, the official story is so full of holes. Some great coverage by Idahoan. Gosh, what's his name? The economic collapse guy, Michael Snyder, put out a great inquiry with 17 unanswered questions. Zero Hedge picked that up. A lot of people in the independent media teeing off on the Vegas shooting. It doesn't make sense that the 64-year-old guy with no apparent motive would go mow down a music festival and that he'd be able to get all those weapons up there all by himself. Of course, there's obviously footage from people's cell phones of what appear to be shots firing from the 4th floor, the 15th floor, and the 32nd floor. Reports of a shooter in the crowd. You know, so many holes in the story, so many inconsistencies, but the mainstream media just feeding us a line of BS on that. Not really a big surprise, right? The mainstream media, so full of shiznit. So sad to see. Heart goes out to all of them. But again, unusually as well, this shooting took place in the shadows of a giant pyramid obelisk down there in Vegas. Just an incredibly disturbing situation. What's the aftermath? Well, there's always the gun control thing. But my buddy Will brought up some really good points. Gun control, passing gun laws that eliminate civilian ownership of guns in the U.S. is pretty much impossible, right? In order to actually make that happen, it'd be really hard. But at the same time, it divides us. These things divide us. So many people, their knee-jerk reaction when they swallow the mainstream story on this narrative is, oh my God, get rid of the guns, and Uncle Sam will save us. What a crock. But it totally divides us. It totally distracts us. And the bigger story there is the creeping, as David Icke puts it, the totalitarian tiptoe. Now they're proposing putting the porno scanners like you see at the airport in casinos, in hotels, having you go through real big security when you go to something like a music festival. Okay, all these things build up the police state, and they also terrorize American citizens, okay? Terrorism is the rule through fear and intimidation. The police state, the military-industrial complex thrives off of terror. The more scared and befuddled and confused and shocked the American populace is, the more power and influence the corrupt ruling elites have. So, Jason Eisenhart chiming in, keeping us divided is how they stay in control. Exactly. And with so many other big issues like the Trump budget on the table, there's so many things that aren't reported in the mainstream going on continuously. But when something like the Vegas shooting happens, it's pretty much the only thing on a lot of people's mind for at least a week afterwards. And that is a huge divisive and distracting thing. Again, I'm not trying to downplay the seriousness of this horrific tragedy in Las Vegas, but the best way we can do justice to the victims is to expose the truth. Again, the bigger agenda here is the growing police state. Think about it, with adding all of this surveillance infrastructure to hotels, casinos, and stuff, someone's going to make a whole lot of money and make those places more secure for the ruling elites to go hang out and spend way more money than the rest of us will ever have. What else is going on? Here locally in Jackson Hole, the Housing Forum is seeking public involvement. There's an open house tonight at Snow King, 6 to 8:30 p.m. in the main ballroom. So if you're local, check that out. Also an online survey on the housing situation here in Jackson Hole. It's in shambles. Heartbreaking to see. Just this morning, I went down to pick up the paper, have some breakfast at the Yankee Doodle Cafe here in Alpine. I ran into an old friend of mine, a blue-collar guy who just lost his housing, and now he's camping out, living in a camper trailer out in the woods, and planning on leaving the area after living here for 27 years. This is the real human fallout of the gentrification of this beautiful area. Sad to see. The billionaires that don't really work for their money because they get it through, the artificial propping up of the stock market and other shady business practices, driving out the real lifeblood of this community, the working class people who actually call this home. It's not just a tax haven for them. So heartbreaking to see that. Chime in there if you want your voice heard on the local housing thing. You can't make it to that meeting tonight. They're accepting online comments until Wednesday at engage2017.jacksontetonplan.com. So if you're local, you want to chime in on that, please do. Moving along. Bala Skaggs playing the Center for the Arts. Your ticket's only going to cost you $115. So line up there, sheeple. Get your ticket to watch some washed-up old musician play for the billionaires in Jackson Hole at $115 a crack. Sad to see. In the opinion section, kind of offensive political cartoon there locally by Wayne Stroot of the Wyoming Tribune Eagle. Bringing up the fact that birds die due to wind turbines and the trying to get Wyoming off of coal and gas and all that. But I'm sure the environmental impact of wind turbines is much less than the impact of fracking and coal. Jason Eisenhart says, Boz who? Laugh out loud. Exactly. David Levy from David, what's up? Good to hear from you again. The elite suspect robotics to carry to their needs, thus wipe out the rest of the average Joe. You know, as we proceed through this crazy life, that seems to be what's going on, doesn't it? Turns, you know, what happens? We live in a corporate oligarchy, right? When they don't need you anymore, they fire you. Corporation, oh, we don't need you? Off you go. Well, now on the verge of the adoption of the driverless car, you know, artificial intelligence, robotics, they really don't need so many people. And it sure seems like we're living through a depopulation agenda. One of the underreported aspects of the depopulation agenda is electrosmog, electromagnetic pollution. You know, like I said, I just got back from a week on the road, well, a couple weeks on the road, and I have to say, I sleep so much better. I have real dreams, like vivid, beautiful, incredible dreams when I get out into the woods in areas where there's no cell signal, you know, into the wilderness, so to speak. And I encourage all of you to try that out too. Go camping, you know, get away from all the technology, or at the very least, turn off your cell phones, turn off your Wi-Fi routers. Try to, you know, if you got smart meters in your area, try to get them to replace them with old school meters, because all this electrosmog is getting us down. This article by Esther Cepeda for the Washington Post. She's talking about her own sleep deprivation. And as I get older, a new dimension has been added. Now, not only do I have a hard time getting to sleep at night, but I also wake before dawn and struggle to get back to sleep. These days are then agonizing. There are headaches, burning skin, muscle and joint pain, odd fluctuations in hunger, and sensory sensitivities to be endured. Okay? The next frontier in sleep science is applying this knowledge about sleep problems to the quandaries of preventing obesity and mental health disorders, and how to optimize everything from exercise to the uptake of vitamins and medications. She goes on and on. Pretty interesting article there. But people chiming in. Jason Eisenhart chiming in saying, I lay in bed at night and I can hear all of the buzzing and it drives me mad. Right? I'm with you. I have the same problem, and it's very, very frustrating. You know, I used to never have problems sleeping. Even in times in my life where I was very stressed in the past, times where I had a lot on my mind, whether it was, you know, geopolitical stuff or like personal financial troubles or relationship troubles or whatever, I used to sleep like a baby. And just not too many years ago, I started having trouble sleeping. Now, like they say in this article, waking up in the middle of the night, feeling fuzzy, feeling pretty tired, and it is odd that so many people are having troubles with sleep disorders. I got one of my favorite books here, The Body Electric by Robert O. Becker, MD, written in 1985. Quick little excerpt from there. For our story, again, Robert O. Becker, MD, brilliant pioneering researcher in the field of electromedicine. But he brought up all these issues 32 years ago. For our story, the most important point is that very small electromagnetic fields influence the pineal gland. Several research groups have shown that applying a magnetic field of half a Gauss or less, oriented so as to add to or subtract from the Earth's normal field, will increase or decrease production of pineal melatonin and serotonin. Okay, melatonin is the sleep hormone. Okay, melatonin is responsible for the circadian rhythms. And back in 1985, we already knew that electromagnetic fields affected the human sleep cycle, in addition to many other things. Other groups have observed physical changes in the gland's cells in response to such electromagnetic fields. The experiments were controlled for illumination, since it has been known for several years that shining a light on the head somehow modifies the gland's hormone output, even though it's buried so deeply within the head in most vertebrates that, as far as we know, it can't react directly to the light. Okay, great book there, The Body Electric. I highly recommend that to anybody who's fascinated or interested in electromagnetic issues. You know, maybe that's why, like he's saying there, the pineal gland is affected by illumination from just the light, even though it's buried so deep in your head. Maybe that's why some people have a hard time sleeping during a full moon when it's brightest. But the EMF thing, a very serious issue. Dan Brown, the writer of the Da Vinci Code, a book, you know, steeped in Masonic nonsense, is back with another dubious anti-religion novel. Okay, so, you know, that's good. It's funny, you know, you can't talk, well, whatever. I'm not going to get into it, but I do have to say they sure love bashing on Christianity. I'm no Bible thumper, but Jesus is definitely my homeboy. And the situation where, you know, it's like, I don't know, man. They sure love bashing on the organized religion, arguably one of the few institutions that does a lot of good for people these days. Mark Schultes asking, what book was that about EMF? That's The Body Electric by Robert O. Becker, M.D. It tells the fascinating story of our bioelectric cells. Robert O. Becker, a pioneer in the field of regeneration and its relationship to electrical currents in living things, challenges the established mechanistic understanding of the body. He found clues to the healing process in the long-discarded theory that electricity is vital to life. But as exciting as Becker's discoveries are, pointing to the day when human limbs, spinal cords, and organs may be regenerated after they have been damaged, equally fascinating is the story of Becker's struggle to do such original work. The Body Electric explores new pathways in our understanding of evolution, acupuncture, psychic phenomenon, and healing. Okay, this book, written in 1985, is still the #1 bestseller on Amazon.com in the field of electromedicine. It's incredible. Highly recommend. Yeah, like it says there, Wake Up News, thanks for timing in, Zach. You can Google it and get a free PDF. So no need to buy the book, although I enjoy having a hard copy. Like I said, if you're concerned about EMF, you're concerned about electromagnetic frequencies, sitting in front of the computer all day, playing around your smartphone all day is probably a pretty bad idea, right? Moving on. Speaking of electromagnetic fields, they've been known to cause cancer. Best friends promote early cancer detection. Okay, cancer is cured, my friends. I got good news for you. Cancer's been cured for a very long time. Look at the work of Royal Raymond Life. Look up the patents for marijuana curing cancer. God bless it. But, you know, the American Cancer Society, what is their slogan? It's absurd. It's like attack from every angle or something. You know, they obfuscate the fact that cancer is cured. Turns out zapping yourself with, you know, ionizing radiation or consuming radioactive poisons is not a good way to take care of your body. But that is the, you know, that's the standard treatment for cancer. It's sad. Moving along. Ralph Shelton saying DinaFit is the most technology I need. Me too. Much love for DinaFit. Moving along. This is kind of under the stranger than fiction story. An energy company is seeking federal approval to build a pipeline in eastern Montana that would transport the greenhouse gas carbon dioxide for use in oil production along the North Dakota border. The $150 million pipeline would begin near the Wyoming border and stretch 110 miles to the Cedar Creek anticline, an aging oil field near Baker, Montana. Carbon dioxide, considered a prime contributor to climate change. They don't mention weather warfare, of course. But it also can be used to breathe life into old oil fields. Companies push the gas deep underground to push out more oil through tapped-out reserves. Goes on and on. A second pipeline proposal would link the Chute Creek site to an existing pipeline network that extends into Montana. The 250-mile line would cost about $400 million, according to the company. The U.S. Bureau of Land Management is seeking public comment on the Montana proposal through November 3rd. So, yeah, more pipelines, you know, more investment into fossil fuel development. Sad to see, because we don't need them. Nikola Tesla made fossil fuels obsolete a long time ago. Wardenclyffe Tower. Look it up. Fascinating stuff. Moving along. Thank you so much for tuning in, by the way. Again, apologies for being gone out of the loop. But like I said, I practice what I preach. I try not to sit in front of the computer all day. It's so easy with the smartphones to get roped in. They're designed to be such an addictive technology that people can't even put them down while they're driving. And not only do they kind of dictate your life and monitor everything you do, listen to all the words you speak, but they're also not good for you, kind of cause ADD. It's funny, I went home and visited my family, and I came across my senior honors thesis from college. You know, a lot of people think that if you're in the independent media, you're just some crackpot Looney Tune who doesn't know what they're doing. But I went home, went through some old boxes, found my MCAT score from before I dropped out of med school. So you can see I did pretty good there. Not your average dummy. But my senior honors thesis from college, fighting ADD with media literacy, putting attention disorders into perspective and exploring the mainstream mass media's role in their development, April 2003. So I got an A on that. But, you know, I've been thinking about this stuff for a long time, writing about it for a long time, and I could definitely do a new version of this paper now that we're in the era of the smartphone. Nyla Clancy chiming in, what is your take on the weather and earthquakes? Well, I think we live in the era of weather warfare. You know, the technology's existed for a long time. We're ruled by some psychopathic elites, and they love killing people and blowing shit up. That's why we've been at war for so long. Weather weaponry, tectonic weaponry is the ultimate weapon. That's why here at Wake Up News, we're committed to exposing the existence and deployment of these technologies, right? The situation in Puerto Rico, dire. 3.4 million Puerto Ricans, 3.4 million American citizens on Puerto Rico effectively hung out to dry by weather weaponry, right? Project Storm Fury throughout the 60s, 70s, into the 80s, the U.S. military experimenting with hurricane and tropical cyclone manipulation. Now, just the other day, Weekend Nate makes landfall in the Gulf Coast. Luckily, it wasn't too strong, but it did trash some places very dear to my heart in Central America. I have to admit, I might be loading up the old 88 Comanche, driving down to Nicaragua to help out with the recovery there in my favorite little beach town. But yeah, it's sad to see. I lived down there for 7 months. I got a lot of close friends, guys and gals who are like family to me, Nicaraguans, wiped out. Of course, places like these little beach towns and islands like Puerto Rico, the news reporting today that, was it USA Today, reporting today or yesterday, Puerto Rico's farmers face near total loss from Hurricane Maria. Of course, the tourist economy of Puerto Rico taking a huge hit. What's going to happen? Where are these people going to go? Most people don't have that much savings living in the world today. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck, especially in an economically depressed area like Puerto Rico. So these people are screwed. And a lot of them are probably going to have to leave their homes, leave that beautiful paradise island in the Caribbean, and come to the States to find jobs, right? It's just the reality there, and it sucks. Puerto Rico, a tax haven for the billionaires as well. So it seems like we're going to see some gentrification there, Classic situation, kick out all the poor people, rich people move in, buy the place up for pennies on the dollar, and they have a nice little island at their disposal. Nicaragua, interestingly, Hurricane Nate taking out large portions of Nicaragua and Costa Rica. In San Juan del Sur in southern Nicaragua, there are usually about 60, 70, 80 boats moored out in the bay there, pretty protected harbor. Only 2 are left now. Talked to some friends down there. The rest of them got washed up on the beach, trashed. Sad to see. But interestingly, Nicaragua, in the era of weather warfare, you can't, in addition to causing a storm that's going to wipe people out, you can also wipe people out with a drought, right? Nicaragua has been in negotiations with the Chinese government and a corporation out of China to build a canal to replace the Panama Canal. Obviously, that in its own right would be an ecological catastrophe for Lake Nicaragua, and a lot of people would be displaced from their farms and homes if that project goes through. But Nicaragua was in the middle of about a 5-year drought before this hurricane hit, and yeah, very well could be induced You know, the mainstream media, again, on the topic of the Las Vegas shooting, they're just moving on. Investigators remain unsure why the high-stakes video poker player would open fire from his 32nd floor hotel room. They believe a note found on the nightstand. Okay, everybody was wondering what this suicide note read, right? But they believe a note found on the nightstand in Paddock's room contained a series of numbers that helped him calculate a more precise aim, accounting for the trajectory of shots being fired from that height and the distance between his room and the concert, a law enforcement official said Saturday. The official wasn't authorized to discuss the details of the investigation and spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity. Okay, so, yeah. Yeah. Wow, lots of good comments in there. Daniel Reichert, sorry about your situation with the therapist there. You know, sometimes I don't go to the doctor, I don't go to the dentist because it seems like you sure spend a lot of money, you don't get much back for it, right? So, yeah, sorry I'm bouncing all over the place today. There's so much going on. It's hard to keep it all straight. But long story short, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, fairly well fuckered by these hurricanes. Again, we live in the era of weather warfare. Can't stress it enough. Moving on. Spanish Unionists speak out at big rally. Okay, the Catalonia region of Spain trying to secede. Naturally, the mainstream media is pushing the other agenda. The globalists' agenda is one world government. They want one central entity to control everything. So naturally, people standing up, trying to break free and govern themselves is counter to their desires. Barcelona police said 350,000 people participated in the march to keep Catalana as part of the Spanish nation. Society Civil Catalana said about 930,000 people turned out. The march was peaceful with no major incidents reported. The governor of Catalana has pledged to push ahead for independence and is set to address the regional parliament tomorrow to report on the current political situation. In the days after the October 1st referendum, the momentum appeared to be on the Catalan independence side. Pro-independence protests were attracting large numbers, and the president of Catalana benefited politically from the violent crackdown by Spanish police during the referendum voting. Did you all see that? It's crazy. Cops going around busting heads while people are trying to vote. Stranger than fiction. But now the tide seems to be turning. Catalonia's top two banks announced they were relocating their headquarters to other parts of Spain because of financial uncertainty if there is an independence declaration. Okay, the power of the purse. You know, here in the U.S., the real leaders are not elected. It's the people with all the cheddar, right? The banksters. Same in Spain. So these big banks saying they're going to have to move if Catalonia breaks free. Other companies are reportedly considering leaving Catalonia to avoid being cast out of the EU and its common market in the case of secession. So we'll see what happens there in Spain, but interesting, strange times. Rhino Bossier chiming in on the Vegas shooting again. Great comment. How does a guy that's not into guns figure out a trajectory path for that long of shots? I call BS. Somebody was well-versed on firearms, right? Again, Rhino, if you haven't checked it out, there's a great article up at Zero Hedge that was originally published by Michael Snyder at the Economic Collapse blog. He's an Idahoan, running for Congress, actually. Brilliant guy. That lays out 17 unanswered questions about the situation, 17 inconsistencies in the story. Mike Adams at Natural Roots chiming in with a little more biased, a little more fiery article. You can tell Mike's pretty fired up about the situation, understandably. But sometimes when you use such passionate language, such pointed language, it turns people off. But Mike Adams put out a couple articles that bring up another 5 good points, like you're saying there, Rhino. Again, there's video of shots being fired off the 4th floor, shots being fired off the 15th floor. Why did it take 72 minutes for the SWAT team to get into this guy's hotel room? The whole situation doesn't make sense, right? Goes on and on. Again, back to the hurricanes as we're going through the paper. Harvey rebuild hard on tourist towns. They're talking about stuff in, the Texas Gulf Coast, but it's the same in Puerto Rico. It's the same in Nicaragua. Interesting. Of course, with the whole hurricane, the whole weather weapon thing, this climate change agenda has been getting rammed down our throats for decades. I learned about this stuff when I was in elementary school, right? Global warming. Got to be scared of global warming, kids. It's going to kill us all. Why didn't they mention weather weapons? Then we'd actually be addressing the real problem. Okay? Facebook says it will begin manually reviewing advertisements that target certain groups and address politics, religion, ethnicity, and social issues. The company has informed some advertisers about the new human review requirement, warning them that it might cause delays before their ads can appear on the social media platform. Facebook has had to apologize amid recent revelations of rampant abuse of its automated advertising process to broadcast false news or promote divisive messages, such as ads aimed at people who've expressed anti-Semitic views. The company is also under increasing congressional scrutiny after revealing that ads linked to a Russian internet agency were seen by an estimated 10 million people before and after the 2016 election. Okay, they're still pounding this nonsensical Russiagate thing, this huge distraction down our throats. Sad to see. Interestingly, on Wolf Street, Wells Fargo's artificial intelligence defies analysts, slaps sell on Google and Facebook. Okay, Wells Fargo encouraging people to sell their stock in Google and Facebook. I tell you what, I'm not very happy with Google and Facebook right now because they're censoring people on YouTube. Their algorithms limit and hinder the independent media on Facebook. We've been labeled, the independent media, people that actually question the lies, have been labeled fake news. Fake news works both ways. Trump calls the big networks fake news, and the big networks call us fake news. Who's got the money there? Who's the one who's really got the loot? I found another old term paper of mine I wrote a long time ago. Let's see if I can find it again. It's fun going home, going through old boxes, and just to let you all know that I'm not just a total kook. I might be a backcountry skier, I might be a ski bum, but I've done my homework. This is the one I wrote back in 2000. The concentration and conglomeration of corporate mega media, the death of diversity, divergent viewpoints, and democracy? ? So, these are the things I've been thinking about for a long time. We can beat the dead horse for a long, long time, but bottom line, the mainstream media lies. And naturally, the cool thing is the reason that Facebook and Google have to crack down on the independent media is because we're winning. If we were allowed to organically grow like, the voices of a true, free, democratic society should, if the independent media was really allowed to grow, we'd be crushing it. We'd be destroying the mainstream. There was an article recently about some people were expressing their disgust because the number 3 search result, if you search Las Vegas shooting on YouTube, the number 3 result was a conspiracy theory video. And it's a reasonable video of people asking the questions, what really happened? What's the whole story? Like, why are all these inconsistencies there? And naturally, YouTube has to change its algorithm so these videos don't show up when people search for them, right? The reason they're doing all that, the reason Facebook, Google are towing the line, cracking down, because it's all about that almighty dollar. It's all about power, and they're losing. The official story is losing power. People do not believe the official story. One of my favorite things is going out in the real world and just talking to people. And I am shocked. I'm consistently and, pleasantly surprised everywhere I go. I'll run into people. Like, here's an example. I saw this cool little store on the side of the road in South Dakota. White Owl, South Dakota. A little store that's been there for over 100 years. And it just so happened to be the post office. And I go in there and spend about half an hour talking with the old lady who's been the postmaster of White Owl, South Dakota since 1978. And she's telling me how cancer's been cured forever and how it's a scam and how healthcare is a scam. All this stuff. I go into a health food store in Pinedale, Wyoming, and there at the counter, there's this hippie lady talking to a guy wearing a Second Amendment rights shirt, and they're talking about the hurricanes in Texas and Puerto Rico. And I casually mentioned, as they're talking, I casually mentioned, well, there's the technology exists to steer these storms, so why don't they limit them? And they're like, oh yeah, HARP, we know all about it. Like, they've known how to steer hurricanes for decades, and they're doing it on purpose. That's what these people said. So, you go all over the world, you talk to people, most people know what is going on. So get out there, speak the truth, share your opinion with people. Don't be afraid. Put it out there. Columbus, Spurs debate. Okay? People changing Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. Sounds like a good idea to me, but it's about time. My friends down in LA have been pushing really hard for that, and they've succeeded. A movement to abolish Columbus Day and replace it with Indigenous Peoples Day has gained momentum in some parts of the U.S., with Los Angeles in August becoming the biggest city yet to decide to stop honoring the Italian explorer and instead recognize victims of colonialism. Again, some of the ladies from LA who are out at Standing Rock have been pushing hard with that movement, and they've succeeded. Austin, Texas followed suit Thursday. It joined cities including San Francisco, Seattle, and Denver, which had previously booted Columbus in favor of Indigenous Peoples Day. Okay? That's really cool. Can't stress it enough. But at the same time, it's important to remember, why is this news? Why is this in the paper? Well, the mainstream continuously pushes this divisive agenda of identity politics on us. Sexism, racism, classism, all these things are in the media continuously, and they do divide us, right? I was surprised when I was out at Standing Rock. Understandably, a lot of Native folks are very apprehensive of white people. Understandably, Back when I was a kid growing up in Minnesota, I almost got the shit kicked out of me by some dudes on the Leech Lake Reservation when I was jogging down a road I really shouldn't have been jogging down, but I didn't know any better. They called me Custer, and I had to take off in the woods so I wouldn't get beat up. I do have some very Custer-like hair, but I don't know. I think we're all friends. It's all about unity, and, not all white people are bad. If you're white, don't feel bad that you were born white. It's not your fault. My ancestors, the Scandinavians, we came over here and we met the natives. We were hanging out with the natives long before Christopher Columbus showed up. I got a great book here by writer T. Sherman. It's not very PC now. The Viking and the Red Man talks about the ancient Norse mythology that describes them coming to the New World. And it's a really interesting dictionary which actually showcases the unusual similarities between the ancient Norse languages and the languages of the northeastern tribes of the U.S. So you can't get that book anymore, but I got a copy of it, and I really enjoyed it, piecing through it. Thank you all so much for the comments. David Cocoriga said, I'm saying, being Norse pagan, I'll be happy with Vikings came first day, right? What else do we got going on? Hot weather dulls northeast fall foliage. Of course, they're going to attribute that to climate change, but again, no mention of weather weaponry, weather control technology. We got sports. We got celebrity gossip. It's a whole bunch of nonsense in the paper. Let me see. I got horoscopes here for y'all, so we'll go into the horoscopes real quick. Take a quick look at the computer here. I got dual monitors rolling now, so I'm getting my show dialed here. Cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin's up 3%, Ethereum down 3.7%, Ripple up 6.4%, Litecoin down 2.5%. A lot of volatility in the crypto market still. If you're playing that game, keep a close eye on it. The SRS Rocco report reported on the 5th that the U.S. government debt increased stunningly in the past few days while no one noticed. As the stock market continues to rise on the back of some of the worst geopolitical, financial, and domestic news, the U.S. Treasury has been quietly increasing the amount of government debt with virtually no coverage by the mainstream or alternative media. So how much has the U.S. debt increased in the past few days? A bunch. In just one day, the U.S. Treasury increased the public debt by $318 billion. Goes on and on. So that's pretty wild. The IMF chiming in at the EPI, of course. Every economy at risk from climate change. They push the climate change agenda every damn day. As usual, no mention of weather warfare. Scientists proposing a space shield to protect Earth from solar storms. Giant magnetic reflector between Earth and the sun. I think we already have one of those that's used for weather weaponry. I promised to go through Project Censored real briefly. Again, Planet Jackson Hole, the local independent media. Very poignant imagery there on the cover today. I'm just going to run through the Project Censored stories real quick so you know. Nice little refresher. Number 1. Widespread lead contamination threatens children's health and could triple household water bills. Okay, that's about Flint, Michigan. Of course, the deeper story there is the existence of pharmaceutical drugs, heavy metals, and microplastics in tap water all over the world. Okay, filter your water, my friends. Uncensored, number 2, over $6 trillion in unaccountable Army spending. Kind of a lot of money. Reminds me of September 10th, 2001, when the Pentagon reported $2.3 trillion missing. Then conveniently the next day, a missile hit the Pentagon and blew up that records office. Speaking of the Pentagon, number 3, the Pentagon paid a UK PR firm to fake Al-Qaeda videos, okay? We know that. Al-Qaeda, a branch of the CIA. ISIS, a proxy enemy. Funded, trained, supported by the U.S. military. Of course, the Pentagon is playing that game. Number 4, voter suppression in the 2016 presidential election. Number 5, big data and dark money behind the 2016 election. Number 6, antibiotic-resistant superbugs threaten health and the foundations of modern medicine. Number 7, the toll of U.S. Navy training on wildlife in the North Pacific. Okay, you guys should probably, independent media, if we're really going to get our heads out of our asses, we should probably look at the impact, the ongoing impact of Fukushima on the wildlife in the Pacific Northwest, the sea life in the entire Pacific Ocean. Fukushima is still a very real problem. Number 8, maternal mortality, a growing threat in the U.S. Mothers dying during childbirth, heartbreaking to see. Of course, the life expectancy in the U.S. is also on decline. Not surprising, given the fact that we're all being poisoned. Number 9, the Democratic National Convention claims right to select its presidential candidate. Of course, Bernie Sanders had the popular support of most Democratic folks, and they went with Hillary instead. We had this huge divide by sex election, reminiscent of the situation with Bernie and Hillary and the DNC, reminiscent of how Ron Paul got shafted by the Republican Party in the previous presidential election. And number 10, a record year for global internet shutdown. In 2016, world shut down internet access more than 50 times, according to the digital rights organization Access Now, suppressing elections, slowing economies, and limiting free speech. In the worst case, internet shutdowns have been associated with human rights violations. Goes on and on and on. Of course, here in the U.S., we see it as on a little less overt. It's a little less overt, but when the independent media is stifled by algorithms, by censorship of a more covert nature, it affects all of us and the free flow of information. Pretty powerful imagery there, showing all the pills flowing out of the out of the factory there into the water supply. Very disconcerting situation. Can't stress it enough, my friends. Take care of yourselves. Filter your water. Eat healthy food. Stay active. Shut off the phone. Shut off the Wi-Fi. Get outside and engage people in real life and enjoy your life, because why not? Might as well be happy. If you don't got health and happiness, you got nothing. Everybody's in here for the scopes. let's get into it. Again, thank you all for tuning in. Sorry for being such a stranger the last couple of days, but I assure you I have been enjoying myself. I have been taking, anybody that has shared information with me, please, I love getting your contributions to me. If you see a cool story, send it to me directly on a private message here on Facebook. Email it to me, maxmogren@gmail.com. Let's get into the scopes, the daily horoscopes. Y'all love the scopes. I'm no astrologer, but I do read the newspaper every day, and the horoscopes are kind of fun. So if you want your scope read, lay it on me. But I'll just go through all of them because why not? Aries, here's your scope. 4-star day. Pressure builds because others ask questions, and you need to repeatedly clarify things. Be patient. You might not understand where the confusion is coming from. You also might sense that part of what is happening involves a power play. Tonight, try to straighten out a mess. Taurus, that's me. 3-star day, bull in the china shop. You could be assessing whether an associate is stepping over boundaries. I think I know who they're talking about. You might want to initiate a conversation and point out what you are observing. Your intention is positive, but your words might not be received in the way you had intended. Tonight, avoid a power play. Gemini, 4-star day. You might be asking more questions than you have in the recent past about a matter involving a creative project. You will be weighing the pros and cons of pursuing a certain path. A friend could view your comments as controlling. Tonight, iron out a misunderstanding. Cancer, 3-star day. Note what is going on behind the scenes. You might think that someone is trying to dominate others, and you could resent his or her attempt to control a situation. This person is likely to look back on his or her behavior at a later point. Tonight, clear up a problem on the home front. Leo, all you lions out there, got their claws into me. You're having a 4-star day, Leos. Focus on one item at a time. You could feel as if you are fighting an uphill battle. You might need to take a step back. You might sense that someone is acting in a controlling manner. Working with this person could be close to impossible. Tonight, zero in on what you want. Virgo, 3-star day for you. You might feel pressure to perform or manifest certain key qualities because of a higher-up's request. You will do your best, and your creativity is likely to challenge others, including this person. A partner applauds the job well done. Tonight, go along with a friend's suggestion. Libras, you're having a 4-star day. You could be pushing others harder than you realize. You might want to challenge someone who is considered to be an expert. Be ready for a strong reaction. Listen to what is being said, but do not hesitate to present your case as well. Tonight, take the lead if need be. Scorpios, you Scorpers, what's up, Karen J. Bowden? Zach, are you a Scorpio too? Zachary Coons, what are you? I forget. Let me know. 3-star day. You might want to make a move, but feel as if it isn't possible. Be aware of someone else's limitations when discussing deep feelings. Confusion can breed mystery as well as attraction. Perhaps you might not want to cause yourself a problem. Tonight, be as direct as possible. Sagittarians, Sagittarius, you're having a 5-star day. Enjoy it. You could be thinking of alternative ideas as a key person presents what he or she feels works. Why not work on a compromise? You will discover that you can build an even stronger bond by softening your need to challenge this person. Tonight, accept a fun invitation. Capricorns, 4-star day. You might feel off kilter as you deal with a problem involving your work. How you see a situation could change if you try to understand or identify with an associate's thinking. Understand where this person is coming from. Listen to a suggestion more carefully. Tonight, off to the gym. Aquarius, 5-star day for you. Allow your ingenuity to meet the demands of the day. How you handle a difficult situation will be very important. Others recognize that the situation is problematic and might trigger you. You can clear up the issue with ease. Tonight, let the fun and games begin. And Pisces, fish people, 3-star day. An innate tension could cause a problem with a roommate or family member. Be more direct in how you deal with this person, as he or she might add to your negativity right now. Be willing to walk away from the situation if need be. Tonight, try to make it an early night. Born today, John Lennon, 1940. Rest in peace, John. The Beatles, you know, John Lennon, pretty solid dude. He's up there with Michael Jackson and many others, probably murdered for their opinions. David Cameron, born in 1966, and actor Tony Shalhoub in 1953. I don't even know who that is, and I don't really care. You all, thank you so much for tuning in. We still got 56 viewers in the 50th minute of the broadcast today. If anybody's got any questions or you got something you want me to cover, put it in the comments or message me personally. Again, a lot of your comments don't show up. I don't know why. That's just how it works. I'll go back and look at the video after the fact, and there'll be 100 comments that didn't show up during my broadcast. So thank you all for your contributions. Thank you all for tuning in. This is Wake Up Wyoming. I'll try to go live every day, but I gotta say, at this stage of the game, you know, we can spend our whole lives sitting there critiquing the mainstream media, or we can just acknowledge that they lie, and we can do other things. Like, we can devote our lives to taking care of the people we love, taking care of ourselves, manifesting positive change in our daily lives with every decision we make. So let's do that. You know, again, we can sit in front of the phone all day. We can sit in front of the computer all day, or we can go out and do stuff. And I'm going to keep doing stuff. Today, I'm going to get my old 1988 Jeep Comanche tuned up because I might be driving my booty down to Nicaragua to help out with the reconstruction of my favorite little beach town, helping out some good friends down there, and in hopes of finding out what's really going on with this canal down there. Interestingly, the road to Nicaragua goes right through Las Vegas, and I got some friends out there that want to do some rock climbing with me out at Red Rocks. So I'll probably go swinging through Vegas too. Maybe I can find something out about the situation there. But for now, I'm around. I'll be doing the videos hopefully almost every day. I got some plans to go climbing and going to be outside, going to be working on a lot of stuff, taking positive steps in my own life every day. So thank you all for tuning in. I'm getting out of here. Again, if you got any questions or you got an article you want me to see, by all means, send it to me. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate all your contributions to me. Some are better than others, but it's all taken into consideration, and you know, I appreciate that. When people send me stuff, it makes me feel important. It makes me feel like I'm actually doing some good work, and getting people thinking a little bit. They get me thinking a little bit. It's the nice interplay between humans as we analyze this world and reclaim the story, take the narrative back from the Decepticons in the lamestream, deadstream media. So for you, thank you. Your boy, Max Mogren, here at Wake Up News, signing off. Like, share, subscribe. But again, remember, if you share this on your wall, odds are no one's going to like it because they're probably not going to see it, because that's how the algorithms on Facebook work. On that note, I'm signing off. One love. Peace.